Welcome to Modern Mentoring. I am your host, Lonnie Phillips. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. I know many of you are transitioning from various meetings and things throughout the day, so I'm going to give it a few minutes while you all take time to join. I also want to let everyone know we are broadcasting across 3 platforms. We're on LinkedIn Live, we're on YouTube, as well as Twitter. We cannot wait to have the conversation tonight. We have a special guest in the house. So let's give it a couple of minutes as our people join. Hello there. Welcome, welcome. Come on in. Tonight, you're going to want to make sure that you pull up a notepad on your computer, or for those of you that need a notepad that you write in, please grab it. I think you're going to get some important insights tonight that's really going to help you on your journey. So we're going to give it a few minutes. Hello, Janine. Welcome. I'm so glad you could be here tonight. Hi, Nakia. Welcome, welcome. So glad you could be here. Calling in from sunny Seattle. Why don't you all type in where you all are located? Where are you calling in from? Janine, are you in Denver tonight? So let's type it in. Oh, I'm so excited about tonight. Thank you for joining. Welcome, welcome. I know many of you are still dialing in, trying to join our bridge. We're going to give it a few minutes before we get started. Welcome. Hi, Tracy. So glad to have you. Hi, Vivian. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Johnny's in Denver. Mika, hi, Micah. You're in Seattle. Hi, Travis. Oh my God, you're calling in from Dallas. Hi, Adrian. Elena is on, calling from Dayton. Ebony, calling in from Michigan. Look at all these wonderful people joining us. Come on in. Like I said, you might want to get a piece of paper, grab your computers. Hi, Michael. Welcome. Calling from Wichita. Hello, Jason. How are you? So glad you could join tonight. I really want you all to get some paper tonight and make sure that you are able to really take in the wisdom that our guest is going to share with us. Yes. Hello, Rob. I'm so glad to have you. You calling in from Newport Beach. What is the weather like in California right now? I'm actually joining you all from Seattle. I'm in Seattle today, so I'm joining Minnie. Oh, Knighton. Hi, Knighton. How are you? So glad you could join. Did I miss Vanessa? Hi, Vanessa. Really glad you could join. Hey, I know we're going to have more people continue to join us, but I just really want to say right here at the start, modern mentoring ended up being just a special project of mine because it was one of those things where we just didn't have enough hours in the day to mentor everyone that need to be mentored. And so I really wanted to find a way to scale my mentoring efforts and really begin to build community, because I felt like at any given time, any one of us could be the mentee and any one of us could be a mentor. But the most important thing was that we were sharing the wisdom and the experiences we had with one another, providing that support, which was a safe place to be vulnerable, to show up for who you are, share up with your struggles, and figure out how can I learn from others so that I can create a better experience for myself in corporate spaces. And that is really where my focus has been, is really helping people thrive in corporate America. And I think all of you know, I just really have a heart and passion for leadership, and you can lead no matter where you are. And tonight we have an important conversation that we're going to have around outward leadership. So let's go ahead and introduce our guest speaker. So I get the pleasure of introducing you to Mr. Tyler Bryson. And I'm going to read his bio. It's a little short, so it won't be too long. Tyler Bryson is the Corporate Vice President for Global Partner Solutions in the U.S. Tyler and his leadership team are responsible for empowering partners to make more possible and transforming our U.S. partner ecosystem into a strategic asset to drive digital transformation. As a global business leader with 20 years of experience at Microsoft, Tyler most recently served as the Vice President of the U.S. Small, Medium, and Corporate segments. He has led sales and marketing and services teams in the U.S., India, and Latin America. In each market, he established a strong track record of building people and strategic partnerships to drive growth and customer outcomes. Prior to joining Microsoft, Tyler worked at Quick Start Technologies for just over 6 years, where he was Vice President of Sales and Marketing. Tyler has his MBA from Wharton and a bachelor's in accounting from Brigham Young University. Now, before I bring him on, I will also share with you Tyler is also my boss. But Tyler and I have been long term colleagues here at Microsoft, and I'm going to tell you words that I associate with Tyler. One word I definitely is a man who is so humbled. Humbled in the sense that he really has a strong sense of who he is and what he's accomplished, but it's the way in which he shares his learnings. And that is what I want to share with you today. I also love the way he always has this mindset of always wanting to learn. He is not someone who feels like he knows everything, but he really stays in this space of curiosity and trying to learn. So I really enjoy the ability of having a leader that stays curious, asks questions, and he also wants to know more and he wants to be a better person. He wants to be a better leader. I also would associate with him, he's pretty cool. I used to think Tyler was the guy who probably was in the minivan, and I found out he really loves fast cars. And one of his favorites is a Porsche. And I just saw him in a whole different light when I saw him when he was doing something like cars, something he absolutely loved. And I actually told him, I said, you actually kind of moved up in terms of cool points when I spent some time with him recently when we were on another business trip. So I want to introduce to some, but to others, I want you to please welcome Mr. Tyler Bryson. Tyler,
Hey,
hello,
Lonnie!
welcome, welcome.
I finally made the show.
You did it. You did it. You see any? Oh my God, Terry! Hi, Terry. Oh my God, you got a lot of friends out there. You
Hey,
got to say
Terry.
hello to them. Thanks for joining us tonight and sharing your wisdom with everyone. I think a lot of us know you professionally. We've had an opportunity to cross paths, at least some of the people on this call. But I don't think some of us know you really personally. So, do you mind sharing a little bit about kind of where you grew up and who shaped who you are? Or maybe a situation shaped who you are?
Yeah, sure. So, first, thanks for having me on, Lonnie. I've heard so many great things about this, and and thanks for the kind words to kick it off. It's tough to live up to all that you said there, but it means a lot. So, thank you.
Sure.
So, I think I grew up in Southern California, and to get to know me, you've got to get to know like family because I grew up with 6 brothers and sisters and then 2 more. So there were 9 of us as a family growing up in a relatively small home in Southern California.
Okay,
We didn't know we didn't have a lot, but we didn't have a lot, but we were happy together as a family.
of course.
And I think one of the things that shaped my life when I was very early on was when I was 5 years old, my mother passed away.
Mm,
And so I got to watch my dad kind of step into that role of leading a family, in a way that I wouldn't understand until later I was a dad.
mhm.
Just how important it is to create that environment for everyone to feel connected, even after a great loss. And I think I grew up quickly at that point. And I still remember as a family the way that we had to come together. And we're close to this day as a result of it. And I think, Lonnie, you can relate a little bit to that from what I know. So growing up where everything was about family, everything was about, hey, do hard things, do your job. It's just kind of a high bar of expectation. And really everybody needed to pull their weight to get through.
Wow. So, first of all, absolutely, I know what it's like to lose a mother. How old were you when your mother passed?
I was 5. I was 5. So I just have a few faint memories of her, but I remember those few years of my dad trying to keep his law practice alive and
Yeah.
take care of all these kids.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was just incredible, really.
Yeah, I'm really sorry for your loss as well. I know how tough that is, but I can relate to your story about how you kind of have to grow up fast. Yeah. So your dad was a lawyer.
Dad was a lawyer, and so I always thought I'd grow up to be a lawyer. In fact, when I was in high school, I was on like all the debate teams and the mock trial teams,
Yeah.
and I just kind of realized that I had more to do than that. And he actually discouraged me away from it too.
You
Yeah,
did?
he just kind of felt like it was at that point the kind of law that he was doing was like family law, and he was kind of doing all sorts of law, and he saw it becoming very very specialized, and he wanted me to do more.
Oh, I love that. Michael Cody says, Your father sounds like a strong man. I have 5 children. Couldn't imagine doing it alone. I'm with you, Michael. Your dad was a special man.
He was, and in fact, my younger sister, who's 1 year older or 1 year younger than me,
Uh-huh.
she had a mental disability,
Hmm.
and so it was even more compounded with like trying to balance all of those things at home. And yeah, it's given me a lot of strength my whole life to say, if he could do that,
You can.
certainly I can do this.
Absolutely. Oh, what a wonderful example you've had. Thanks for sharing that story.
Sure.
So, we're going to talk about outward leadership. So, do you mind sharing how you define outward leadership and where you learned about that concept?
Sure. So this is something I've been studying probably about 8 years,
Okay.
8 years. And it's been a part of like my leadership development for a while, but
Mhm.
now I'm starting to realize that it's more than that. It's kind of a core theme and a tenet to how I lead. And I'm not perfect at it by any means, but I want to share just a little bit about the journey. Let
Mhm.
me first define it. So, in the most simple expression, an outward leader is a leader who can see beyond themselves.
Mm. All right, let's pause there. See beyond themselves. I hope that resonates with some people. Keep going.
Yeah, it's this idea that oftentimes leaders get confused,
Mhm.
and leadership becomes about them and not others.
Mm.
And then they start seeing people as objects that are there to be used to accomplish their goal
Right.
versus focusing on collective results and
Mm.
impact on others. And believe me, I've made this mistake.
Mm.
I continue to make this mistake at times. And we can talk more about it, but this core concept of seeing beyond ourselves and getting to the root of our true impact on others. Because if we don't really understand what our impact is on others,
Yes,
who are we doing it for?
that's right.
It's us. And then we're completely upside down.
Wow. And where did you learn this concept?
Okay, so I read a book about 8 years ago from the Arbinger Group called Leadership and Self Deception.
Okay.
It's a national bestseller. Some of you may know it. But in it, it describes this journey of an inward minded person trying to solve and fix these issues. He tells it through a parable or through a story. And then the slow journey to becoming outward focused and really seeing other people. And it really hit me because, you know, our people, the people we lead, deserve an outward leader. They deserve to be able to work with somebody who really sees them. And it's so powerful because I think when we as a person feel seen, right, by our manager or our leader, if we feel seen, we will do our best work.
There's no
It's so,
telling what you would get them to accomplish,
it's so
right?
simple. It's
Yeah.
like, hey, it's not that I want Tyler to do all these things for me. Just know who I am and
Right.
know my needs and genuinely be thinking about your impact on me. So it's such a simple concept, but I love it, Lonnie, because it 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 really closely connects with, I feel like, the growth mindset and
Yeah,
this outward mindset. The growth mindset being this view that we can all develop and keep growing. The
absolutely.
outward mindset being it's not about us.
There you go. And we have another comment here from Lauren says, at the end of the day, my leadership effectiveness is not measured by what I am able to accomplish, which is what's in the Arbigen group, but by what those whom I lead are able to accomplish. And that was a quote she pulled from the Arbinger group. And then Michael said, exactly, it's all about teamwork. Many people in leadership roles do not see this. So let's dig a little bit deeper.
Sure.
We're going to talk about the 6 lessons, right? In outward leadership. I would love to hear from you. What is the first lesson that you believe defines outward leadership?
Okay, I've kind of kicked it off a little bit, but I'm going to restate it because it's at the very core.
Yes.
Focusing our impact on others, not ourselves.
Okay.
It's outward leadership lesson number one.
Mhm.
Focusing our impact on others, not ourselves. So it's really even hard to see it because we become so blinded to it. Like,
Yes.
what am I doing right now? Who's it for?
Right.
Or what do I need that person to do for me right now? Who's it for? And that ability to say, I've got to impact others. So back to that quote that
Mm-hmm.
we just read a second ago, I'm going to be measured on how well they do,
Mm.
not what I do. And how many leaders have people doing a lot of the great work, but then are first in line to say, it was all about me the whole time? See,
I think we've seen that a little too much, right?
yeah, and it's believe me, when our people see that, they know we're inward. They
Absolutely.
know it, and their level of commitment, energy, discretionary efforts going down.
So why don't we make it real for people? So if you are a leader, let's do a real scenario. Um, you want to pick one, or you want me to pick one? Let's create a real scenario that you can kind of walk them through how to think about it as an outward leader. Let's say I could pick a project. Let's just pick a project
Sure.
that someone's working on, and you know, as a leader, you're going to be held accountable for the success of this project, and you've got this team supporting you. What are some things you can do to really demonstrate the point you just made, which is focusing on the impact on your impact on others, not yourself?
Right. So the first, and we've all been there, right? We've been in projects or reviews where things aren't going well.
Yeah.
And that first reaction can be, I don't see them, I see the problem.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to talk about the problem, and I'm going to do it in a way that really isn't focused on helping them succeed.
Mm-hmm.
It's turning it around to make sure I don't look bad. How different is that, right? We've been on the receiving end of it. I have. But it's
Yes.
like, I have a legitimate, genuine problem, and I need help.
Mm-hmm.
I see you. What is the thing that I can do right now to help you have impact? Versus, don't you know what you've done to me? You put at risk me because you're not executing or you're not accomplishing. And you've just destroyed any chance, I think, of being outward or having impact. And I mean, think about it this way. It's like an inward leader, and I'm going to use that expression because it's helpful to describe inward sometimes to understand outward. An inward leader isn't really about um, like coaching. They're about impelling
Right.
others. An inward leader is really all about what's the impact of this mistake on me, not what happened to Lonnie.
Right. Right.
And an inward leader is somebody that um, really isn't even aware or alive to the contributions of others. So I just, again, I'll just hit that point, impact on others, seeing beyond ourselves, and it is empowering. The second that you like get back in that mode of, wait a minute, what am I here for? What does that person need from me right now?
Right.
You're becoming outward. The very second you see that person differently, you're becoming outward.
You know what it makes me think about, Tyler? It makes me think about the training we went through with Brene Brown. And one
So
of my
connected.
favorite questions that I thought was extremely powerful is asking someone, what does support look like for you?
That,
Because every person will have a different answer to that.
yeah, and that is a very outward question
Yes.
versus, you know, Can you fix this? Hint, hint, don't make me look bad.
And you know, you got some leaders out there, Tyler, that would say, don't make me look bad, make me look good. Let's look at our comments here. Vivian. Hi, Vivian. She said, I said that to my manager today. My manager is truly amazing at it. She sees me. She sees my hard work, my focus, my needs, etc. Not every leader has that ability. I am lucky to have a manager that focuses on helping her team achieve more. I wake up every day wanting to do more and be better at my work. Vivian, you are really blessed that you have a leader like that. And don't forget to thank her on a regular basis. Susan says, in our three circles of influence, it is two parts that what can I do for other, oh, what can I do for others? And one part me, to your point.
Yeah, and for those of you who aren't at Microsoft, that is a reference to how we rate or measure the impact of our teams. And I love to point that out. 2/3 of that is outward, others.
Absolutely, absolutely. And Michael said employee recognition and morale is a must. Just showing your support for your team and employees goes a long way. Solid answer, Tyler. So let's keep it going. So, what would you say the second lesson is?
Okay, this is kind of a building block of being able to be outward,
Okay.
and that is being alive to the needs, objectives, and challenges of others.
Mm,
There's that word again, others.
others,
Others and outward, they go together. But
yes,
think about this expression, being alive
yeah,
to the needs, objectives, and challenges of others. And it's this idea that they matter as much as you matter.
yes,
They matter as much as you matter.
yes.
So there's a lot of depth to this, but um, it's that you could get so inward focused that people could be in pain all around you and you not observe it, right?
Mhm.
Because you're focused on your results, not the collective results. Now, what does it mean to be alive to the needs and objectives and challenges of others? It's slowing down, it's listening. And I have a long way to go on this, Lonnie. You know me. I'm like, what's next? What's next? What's next? Meanwhile, people that need to be seen aren't being seen. And I don't really know what their needs are because I never took the time to ask. I don't know what their objectives are. And this is true, by the way, not only in work colleagues, but in my job, we work with partners a lot.
Absolutely.
And if you don't show up outward to a partner, you're not alive to their needs and objectives,
Yeah.
they pick up on it right away. They
Right.
know right away. Our
Mhm.
kids pick up on this right away
Right away.
if you have kids. Our friends, they know if we're seeing them and alive to those things. So slowing down, asking a few more questions, making that connection. It sounds so basic. It could be categorized as relationships,
Mhm.
but it's amazing how many people we see every day that we're inward. People on the street, just another person. They're dead to me, right?
Yes. Yes.
People in the elevator,
Yes.
people that are in the grocery store or that aren't on our team go inward all the time. And what a difference we can make. Our people deserve and people thrive when we just get a little more outward.
I love that. And I think there's so many cool ways that you can do that. I saw you do it today. It's just acknowledging someone who's normally behind the scenes and say, "Hey, I know you're working really hard on this project to help the collective team be successful. Thank you for that." You did that today. And I felt like, wow, that was an awesome leadership moment to be able to just stop and recognize someone who didn't do anything to put on display what they were doing, but the fact that you took the time to just stop and acknowledge them. I think we need to do that more. And we can even do that in our own private lives. I think about one of the things I'm trying to do a better job of is now that we're going back to traveling, is to see people that are supporting me,
Mm.
whether that be I'm in a restaurant and someone is bringing me or serving me my meal or a drink, take the time to ask them their name and just get to know them a little bit. We all get busy. And if I'm by myself, I'm usually on my device. Just slow down and just acknowledge them. Or I've noticed even in the airport, you've got people working on different things inside the airport, and I've tried to just stop, like in the bathroom, you'll have someone attending to the restroom, and I'll try to slow down and just say, "Thank you for your service. I really appreciate it." And you'll be amazed at just the recognition or just how people feel for you to see them that way. Can you imagine at work what it would be like if we just slowed down as leaders and just really tried to get to know people and acknowledge the work that they're doing? I just think that it would take loyalty to a whole nother level.
Yeah, and there's some people that say this is so basic. Doesn't everyone know this?
Uh-uh.
We forget it every single day.
Yes, we
The
do.
airport is the perfect example. What are we doing at the airport? It's the most inward place on the planet, right? I
Yeah,
want my luggage at that spot, and I need that seat, and I need that burrito, and I need this, and I need that,
yeah,
and we think, oh, that's just they're not real people to us,
yes,
and they are real people.
they are.
And until we like catch ourselves, like be aware of like what we're, you carry that stuff, you carry that to your kids, you carry that everywhere. And that probably is a good point to go to leadership, outward leadership lesson number 3, Lonnie.
I would say so. Go right ahead. What is
Yeah.
it?
All right. So this is the most brutal one at the core. It's
Okay.
seeing people as people, not as objects to reach your goals.
Yes.
It's like, I would never do that. You do it every day.
I would say, have you ever done that, Tyler?
Yeah, no, I have. I mean, especially, I think we all see ourselves, or at least I see myself as one way, and then things get stressful.
Yes.
And when things get stressful, it's like, I'm taking charge. You're not human to me. I'm just moving you this way, and you're going, and you up there, you over here. And that dehumanization of others
Yeah.
is, it's the death of leadership.
Mhm.
It's the death of leadership. It's why wars are fought, that we dehumanize each other. And so, as an outward minded leader, we just have to learn and work at modeling like everybody counts, like we count. And it's a journey, it's a lifelong journey. But I just feel like if we get that part of the equation right, there will be a reciprocity that people come down and start to see us as people too. But we have to be the one to start it in most cases. In the negotiation, you're an object, I'm an object. Let's hash it out.
Right.
Somebody's going to see the other person as a person,
Right.
and that, by the way, is what will unlock the opportunity.
Yeah. One of the things you said that just kind of made me pause and think we're all guilty of this is when we're under stress.
Yeah, changes.
When we're under stress, and everybody has a way that they deal with stress, but when things aren't going the way you need them to go, it's natural to only think about the impact it's having on you. You don't slow down to think about the impact it could be having on other people and what could you do to get them and meet them where they're at so that you can quickly start to practice the other tip of being alive to the needs, objectives, and challenges of others that could help you in a time of stress really begin to get everyone to move in the direction you need them to go. So I think even those two can kind of fit together because in stress, I could see
Totally.
us all going inward and just trying to overfunction a bit to move everybody in the direction that we want.
Yes. Yeah. It's like you're a chair to me. I need to get up, climb higher, move
Yes,
here. I
yes,
think there's a good uh, quote here on LinkedIn. Someone said, I always say we lead people and manage things. This
yes.
keeps me focused on people as like-minded partners. I love that.
Yes, that is a good one. Yes. And then we have many leaders are simply focused on a check.
Yeah.
Why aren't more leaders tuning into this? Well, they will be able to because it will be recorded. How about that? So let's move on to what's the fourth lesson, Tyler?
Okay. So the fourth lesson is connected here, but
Mhm,
it's driven around this concept in leadership and self-deception and the
mhm,
outward mindset of the influence pyramid.
mhm.
And the influence pyramid is basically says one thing. At the very core of your ability to influence someone else is the relationship. Okay, we know that,
Yeah.
but only a relationship where you truly see them.
Mm.
Do I really see them? Do I see my mother-in-law? Do I see,
Yeah.
um, my cousin who called and needed a loan? Do I really see them? Right. And by the way, this isn't about just like, oh, good feelings for everyone.
No.
This is like taking a step way deeper to say, what's really going on and how can I help them? The second that that happens, the relationship flourishes, or you've taken one step closer to them. Then, by the way, once that mindset is in place, I see you correctly, Lonnie, then those people will be ready to listen to your feedback. They'll be open to your guidance. They'll be open to even sometimes correction
Mm-hmm.
or discipline
Mm-hmm.
because they know where it's coming from. Lonnie sees me. I'm going to take her feedback. How often have you felt like an object to someone and then they want to give you feedback? It's like,
Yeah.
I can't hear you.
You
I'm not
shut
going to.
down. Like, I can't hear you.
So the fourth lesson is just build relationships based on seeing others.
That's a really good one because I think in a world in which technology is taking over, I think people are losing the ability to build deep, meaningful relationships. Everything feels so superficial now, and we seem to all be in a rush to go do something. I think one of the things I'd love to see all of us practice more in this community is just really invest the time in getting to know people and really understanding who they are, what's important to them, and what matters to them because I have found that so many people now are just all about communicating via devices, which is just short, quick hits, but they really don't invest the time. Have you seen that change?
Oh yeah, and
Quite
that's
a
what I'm so excited about. This the COVID mandates coming up and more safe interactions with people because I don't think we've really been seeing each other that well
yeah,
through Teams and Zoom. I think we've been listening, we've been trying, but there's a level of proximity. Brene Brown would tell us that we need in order to make that real. So I just say to all of us, we have a chance to show up outward with people we haven't seen in years. Let's do it.
let's do that. Yeah, I was going to ask you earlier, has the pandemic changed you in any way?
Yeah, boy, so many ways, so many ways.
Mhm.
I would just say in general, um, you know, for me, empathy has been an area where I've had to really kind of reset,
Yeah,
connected to how I see others, but also connected with recognizing needs that people have that they didn't have 2 years ago.
that's right.
And I don't just mean like COVID treatment. I mean like things that are beneath the surface they've been going through. I work with some young teenage kids at church, and I teach Sunday school lessons and things like that. And so I was teaching a Sunday school lesson to this 13-year-old group of kids, and I had this chance to ask them that question: How are you doing? What's going on? And I listened to this 13-year-old boy just kind of describe like how hard his learning has been.
Yeah.
You know, like I he said it in the sweetest way. He's like, I just couldn't listen more than an hour. you know, I just couldn't. And then I was behind, and then my parents were upset with me, and it's like, just
Yeah.
let's ask more questions. Let's be curious, less judgmental, and then we will be able to see how we can really help. It's weird. It's like the once you let go of that, I know you, and then I'm curious about you, then all of a sudden the light goes on, and you'll get ideas how I can help.
That is so true. That is so true. I'm trying to think about, I think the pandemic changed me in so many ways as well. And I think it really deepened my empathy, but more importantly, it's deepened my compassion for others. And how I differentiate between empathy and compassion is empathy is me being able to understand and put myself in the shoes of others. But now, with more compassion for people, it's moving towards action. It means as I see someone going through something, to understand what support looks like for them and go on that extra step to do something towards what they've asked you for. because I feel like everyone's had a different pandemic experience.
That's right. And you
No,
don't know. You
and
don't know.
everybody's different, right? And so meeting people where they're at and just trying to be a part of making their life a little bit easier in some kind of way. I would say that's how it's changed me. All right, so let's talk about your fifth lesson.
Okay. So this one, I think we can all relate to, and you've heard it in many different flavors. But an outward leader is someone who's leading with enthusiasm versus leading with fear.
Mm.
And the connection here of being outward is this idea that says, hey, if I really know what that person's needs are, if I really see them, then I can help them see a path forward with enthusiasm. And an inward leader is, you're impacting me negatively. I'm going to use fear to get this done. And the death spiral just begins and carries on. So I think an outward leader is really using that word enthusiasm and living it. Um, and by the way, it's like, oh, is that an act? Is that inauthentic? No, when you see people, and I keep using that expression, when you really see people, the enthusiasm to help them will grow.
Mhm.
Because you can make a difference.
Right.
Whether it's somebody in a Sunday school class or somebody trying to lift a piece of luggage to get in the airplane, it's
Yeah.
right there.
You know, that word enthusiasm, when you meet people for the first time or when you're talking to someone, that energy level varies, right? When someone comes in with that positive energy, there's automatically a transference of it, right?
For sure. Yeah.
And I did not realize how impactful it was. So I think about something I learned years ago by you have to control the energy you bring into a conversation. You got to be responsible for that. So I think about how I
Mm.
show up or how people, I know when you show up, you've got that, yeah, you know how you do it, right? And sometimes you can get animated with it, right? When you show up with that level of enthusiasm, it really does, it's infectious. It makes the other person, if they are having a rough day, they're probably going to perk up a little bit and say, yeah, I could do this. This is going to be a great conversation. You know what I mean? But I think about that fear piece. A lot of people unintentionally lead with fear. And then there are some people that just are wired to lead with fear. Can you think of an example where you've seen that one at play? Doesn't have to be recent, but just a scenario you've experienced where that played out.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's everywhere. I mean, as I think about my own journey, like, I think when things weren't going well, right? When all of my leadership had failed,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean failed, what did I have left to pull from?
Mm-hmm.
But the worst motivating force ever, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's one way I would like us to think about it, is like, if you're going to fear, you've just you've reached the very bottom of any leadership capability you have. Climb back up. Climb back up. Figure out why you're not seeing that person correctly. Get concerned about them, the impact you can have on them, and then go again and address it. But if it's, Lonnie, you don't get this done at this time, at this date, we're going to talk again. That is as inward as you get, as inward as you get. Now, the next principle is important, because this isn't all about, like, hey, let's talk about seeing each other but not being accountable.
There you go. So let's talk about that sixth and final lesson.
All right. So one of the things that is super important to me is this idea that, because I see you better,
Yeah.
because you feel seen, because you are a real person to me, I can be straight with you.
Yes.
It's coming from a place of, I care.
Mm-hmm.
It's coming from a place of, I want to help you have impact.
Correct.
So this idea that an outward leader creates a culture of accountability.
Mm-hmm.
An outward leader creates a better culture of accountability than an inward leader leading with fear, right? So um, this is about being able to level with people. We all want to be leveled with, right?
Yes.
But we want it to come from someone who really sees us,
Right.
knows where we're at. So we need to stay outward so that we can create and raise accountability in our organization.
I love that.
It's the linchpin of this. I think Brene Brown would call it taking off our armor,
Yes.
right? So we can be vulnerable.
Yes.
People know who we are. We see them.
Yes.
And then we can talk about what needs to be done to have more impact.
Absolutely. And when you think about fostering a culture of accountability, depending on where someone works, that could have different meaning, right? And we're blessed that we're in a culture where that culture of accountability is strong, but we also have a safe place where we can be vulnerable and admit where maybe we dropped the ball on something or we didn't get something right or something's not green on the scorecard and it's red, that we slow down and say, let's unpack that. Let's understand what's getting in the way. But for some people, accountability says if you either met the goal or you didn't. If you met the goal, I'll celebrate you. But if you didn't make the goal, it's time for some form of punishment.
Yeah, and I think that's that's a false trade-off, right?
Mm-hmm.
It can be so much better than that. It can be I've been caring about you so long
Right.
that we've had these conversations.
Yes.
You're accountable for this. Now let's figure out what the best thing to do for you is.
Right.
But again, I probably a broken record on this. It's like instantly others can tell where you're at
Yes.
with regards to their needs, their objectives. Am I alive to those things?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Lonnie, I'm alive to those things. And because of that, here's what I see that I think you could improve.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now, it's up to you to go improve those things.
Absolutely. I love that. And you know what it makes me think about? In situations, and I know there's someone out here, and please, everyone, that was the last tip. If you have any questions, please type it in the chat. Tyler, it made me think about situations where people's performance may not be at the level of expectation and they're not delivering against a set of accountabilities. And they're entering into these conversations with their leader. I think about just what you've shared today. Um, if you practice outward leadership, where you're having that relationship with that employee and you are seeing them, I think you can have that even difficult conversation and it not tear them down, right?
Right. Yeah, great point.
It's not about, I always say, this is what you do, this is not who you are. Sometimes you just may miss the point or you don't have either you've had a difficult scenario you've been handed, maybe you lack the skills or capabilities. You never know what's getting in the way. But if you can really invest in that outward leadership, building that relationship and seeing the individual, you can even have the toughest conversations without it being having that individual take it so personally. What do
Oh,
you think about that?
yeah, you've nailed it. You've nailed it. I, you know, inward leadership isn't leadership at all, right? You're defaulting to what's in it for me. This is hurting me. This is a bad outcome for me, and I'm going to fix it through treating you as an object for the next few minutes. I think inward leaders show up as frustrated with other people.
Yeah.
So when you're feeling frustration about your team, you're going inward. Most of the time, you're going inward. If you're ever driven to anger, you're going inward. If you're thinking, I deserve something better than this, you're going inward. If you think tough love is the only way through this, you're going inward.
Yeah.
It 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 isn't that we don't have those emotions and feelings at times, but we've got to recognize them for what they are. It's a self-deception that we think we might not be. Actually, we're part of the problem.
Yeah.
because we've never got to the root of what can I do best to help this person. And let's take, each of us, maybe each of you has 6 or 7 people at work that you lead or you work with.
Yeah.
You may lead as a manager, or you may lead a part of a virtual team. If you could think of each person on that team, ask yourself a question: am I inward or outward with that person?
Yeah.
Right. It's a really important audit.
It is an important.
That one member of your team that's always interrupting you, and you know what? Up comes the armor.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, whenever I see, and I'm going to use you, Lonnie, as just an example.
Yeah.
Oh, Lonnie, I remember the last time in the meeting, she embarrassed me. I'm up, I'm armored, and I'm inward. I can't see Lonnie as a person anymore, right? Well, guess what happens when that 6 or 7 people you need to work with, you've turned inward on all of them. You're gone. You are the problem. I am the problem at that point. And so I think each of us has a chance to look at our relationships, look at the people we lead or influence, and ask yourself, where am I with this person right now?
Yes.
As soon as you can, even someone who's been really difficult to work with, if you can, instead of hey, today, I'm not going to worry about me. I'm going to see if I could just help Lonnie a little bit.
Yeah.
Whoa, the whole thing pivots. And it may take 2 or 3 days like that before Lonnie goes, what's going on? Mm-hmm. Tyler's different. I'm going to stop being in this weird
adversarial and negative, right?
Yeah, and I'm going to turn it around to be positive or outward. So making it really, really practical, Lonnie, for just a second, that's a way each person on this stream could go think about that tomorrow. And I would just challenge you to choose one person where you're inward. I'm shut off to them. They're not even a person to me. I'm not alive to what's going on with them. If they tripped, I wouldn't help them up. Well, maybe it's not that bad. See if you can turn it around by changing you, not them.
I love it. We have a question. Do you think there's a way to encourage those around you to become more outward?
Yeah, first we have to model it ourselves. And then I think we need to talk about it more as a principle of awareness, self-awareness. Because to be honest, I knew all these terms many years in my career. But until I really lived them and saw I saw my negative impact on others, it's humbling to look back on your career and go, wow, I could have made such a difference for that person, but I didn't. I was petty. I was focused on me. So I think everybody should read the book, Leadership and Self-Deception.
Yes.
And there is a short version kind of summary of it called The Outward Mindset, which is a book. I just encourage everybody to get it and start modeling this yourself.
Absolutely. We got another question, but I'm going to squeeze in one because I think it's perfectly timed with the statement you made. We're all human, Tyler. Just like you just expressed, you haven't always gotten it right. So when we get it wrong, how should we recover?
This is the most powerful thing about this concept, is that you can recover the very second you see them differently, just for a second. There's a powerful story in the Outward Mindset book that talks about this police officer who was in a neighborhood where there'd been a lot of violence, and he'd been dealing with, just threats on his life and worries. And there was a woman that came and approached him in that neighborhood and had seen the downside of police activity in an area. And that woman came up to him and said, I'm worried about you. I've seen some people in this part of the neighborhood. I think you should watch out for them. And this police officer all of a sudden realized that woman was a person.
Right.
Was a person.
Right.
And she saw him as a person before he did.
Right.
And so the second that woman said, I'm trying to help you, that officer just He said his whole mindset in that neighborhood changed. His paroling tactics, everything changed because one person saw him differently. So
That's how
that
powerful.
story always, and there's a interview on that you can read about. But
Yes.
it's think about our world,
Yeah,
Lonnie, like all of this conflict
right.
that we can work on person by
Absolutely.
person.
Absolutely. So Jason asked a question. Tyler, as two-thirds of our performance is outward, can you share can you share what you do routinely to remind yourself to think outward, aka remove the armor?
Hmm. I think I often will, I'm getting better at this, but asking myself just this one simple question: who am I doing this for?
Mm,
Hey, I'm doing this to look great to my new manager. I'm doing this to make sure that scorecard is green because I got a meeting and it better be green beforehand. I'm
yeah.
doing this to make sure our partners, implement this new process correctly. There has to be more times each day where we ask, who am I doing this for? And I want to be on the side of that says, I'm doing this for Lonnie. I'm doing this for Tim or for Tracy or whoever. Um, because that's how we feel fulfilled at the end of the day when we know we've done it for someone else. We feel hollow and kind of worn out and exhausted when we're constantly carrying around this um, inward, like, that didn't feel good today. I didn't get enough validation from others today. I wasn't seen as being the best today. Oh boy, talk about a really long day. Stay inward all day long, you're miserable.
That is a miserable place to to be. I could not agree more. Tyler, oh, we got another question. And
Yeah.
I better start wrapping here. When do you shift from inward to outward? Did it happen in your personal life first?
It actually did. It actually did. Um, and this is pretty personal, but I had a son who had um, mental disability and challenge.
Mhm.
And, I thought I could fix it. I thought it was about me. How backwards. It didn't happen to me, it happened to him. And he's still going through that. But I had to suddenly say, who am I doing this for? Right? Like, and, you know, we, we, we don't have many chances to get that right for people that are that important in our lives, right? Let's work on showing up the right way for them. Do it for them.
That's
Get it
powerful.
right. So,
That's powerful. Thank you for sharing that, by the way. All right. So, Tyler, wow. Talk about a powerful lesson in outward leadership, 6 lessons. So, why don't we give them a summary of those 6 lessons?
okay. So it starts with this quote that we started at the beginning, which is at the end of the day,
Right.
your leadership, my leadership,
Yes.
its effectiveness is measured not by what I am able to accomplish, but by what those whom I lead are able to accomplish. Okay. So it's pivoting from me to others, right? So great leaders, others. So here are our 6 outward leadership principles. Focusing your impact on others, not yourself.
Yes.
Happens all day long. Watch out. 2, being alive to the needs, objectives, and challenges of others. How can you be alive to those needs if you don't ask, if you don't slow down, if you don't listen?
Right.
3rd, seeing people as people, not objects. They think the airport for a second. Invite yourself to go walk through the airport and see people.
Yeah.
It's a much better experience, I
Mhm.
promise you. 4th, building relationships based on seeing others.
Yes.
Hey, it isn't like in the hallway, hey, we have a great relationship. We went to lunch. That was fun. No, I see you. Now let's have a relationship. Number 5, great outward leaders lead with enthusiasm instead of fear. And number 6, great outward leaders create culture of accountability by staying outward.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Make sure you take a look at the chat, Tyler. I see a lot of comments out there. Hi, Shabam, Yemi. I see Vanessa. They've got some wonderful businesses. You're so brave to share. Thank you, Tyler. Modeling is so important. People mirror the energy we bring to the table. Thanks for that, Yemi. When you are a leader, when you as a leader are vulnerable, I believe you encourage others to be outward. That's a good one. And Michael says, I am an instructor for 50 plus new employees every week. Relatable builds the best positive relationships. Enjoying your thoughts and experiences. Thank you both. Hi, Terry. Thank you both. Truly blessed to have you as friends and as leaders. Thank you. Patrick says, love the discussion. Thank you. So, Tyler, I just want to thank you for sharing part of your afternoon with us here on Modern Mentoring. Talking about outward leadership and the way you approach it. I'm going to make sure I'm more intentional about that moving forward myself. And I'm sure everyone who will listen in will start to think about, is this about me? Or is it about others? And check in on that every single day. So I just want to tell you how invaluable that is. And I want everyone to get the book. What was it? Leadership and Self Deception. Let's make
Yeah,
sure.
that's
Right?
the first book. I
And
love it.
any other book you want them to have, or just start there?
Yeah, start there, and then you can read the book, The Outward Mindset, which is kind of the foundation of kind of a good summary of all these principles.
I love that. I also want to thank all of you for joining in on Modern Mentoring today. I hope you were able to walk away with just one thing that you can take back and do differently. I hope you spent some time with all of the things that Tyler shared with us today. I mean, 6 incredible lessons that we can all practice on a daily basis. Please make sure you follow us on LinkedIn. We also have the Modern Mentoring Village. I would love for you to join that group on LinkedIn, where we want to create community for you to keep these conversations going well after the conversation here today. I want you to also know that the recording will be available immediately on LinkedIn Live as well as on YouTube. So please go out there, make sure you share it with as many people as you think this could help as possible, because that's all we want to do. We want nothing from you but just to make a difference in your life and help you make a difference in others. So until next time, everyone, thank you so much for joining, and I hope to talk to you soon. Bye. Thanks again, Tyler.
Loved it.